Hey Google, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How can I help?
I want to talk to Travel Guru.
Okay, getting the test version of Travel Guru.
Hi, I am your travel assistant and I can provide you all travel details against a travel ID. I will fetch data all the way from SAP Cloud Wrap Service.
Get the details for Travel ID 20.
Do you want to track the travel ID number 20?
No.
No problem. Let me know anytime if you want to track your travel details.
Can you get the travel details now?
Do you want to track the travel ID number 20?
Yes.
Travel details, travel ID, 20 agency ID, 70,049 agency name, miles and more customer ID, 680 customer name,
Hey
roll
Google,
and begin.
thank you.
You are welcome. Have a great day.
Hello friends, welcome back once again. I hope you are all doing great and this is a new year and of course, Happy New Year to you all. And I wanted to start with a very simple demo like integrating Google Assistant with SAP Chatbot. And I hope like you enjoyed this little demo. And in this episode, we are going to achieve these integrations and we can use any device. Doesn't matter, you need a Google Home. You can just experience the similar integrations from your smartphone or maybe Google Assistant simulator. So we'll definitely learn step by step things, a lot of good points we'll just cover. So stay tuned till the end. And not only the conversations or maybe integrations, what I'm planning, I want to make this chatbot a little bit of internationalized. I mean any kind of language I can use to kind of make a conversation with my chatbot. So a lot of things are there in this episode. So I hope you'll enjoy this overall discussion. Stay tuned till the end and don't forget to subscribe my channel. So let's head over to the technical discussion now. So let's see like what exactly technically we have to do to achieve this integration. So this is our SAP chatbot that we created. I'm just calling it chatbot. Oh, I'm writing catbot. Okay, it should be chatbot. Cool. And we have our RESTful app service somewhere here in my cloud, app on cloud service. And what we did, we basically create a little bit of Node.js application node. Okay. So in this particular, what should I say? To just make an integrations between these two, right? So we just did these integrations and my chatbot is able to access the data all the way from the app. Now, if you just check the SAP, chatbot connectors, you won't find any available connectors to integrate with your Google Assistant. So that means if I just think about this is my Google Assistant, I'm just calling it as GA or maybe Google Assistant, right? So I cannot host this chatbot in this Google Assistant directly using any connectors. So that means we have to create our own bot connectors and through which we can do these integrations. So let's, what we are planning to do is, we'll basically create a small Node.js application again, new applications altogether. We're going to create one more node will create. And what I'm planning, this node will do two things. Okay. The first thing will be like, it will make kind of an integrations with the Google API, which is a translations API, because I want to make my chatbot as kind of internationalized so that any kind of language I can make a conversations with. So I'm just calling it, let's say Google translations, that I'm gonna use over here in this Node.js. And the same way, I want to do something at the bot connectors. Okay, so I'll be using SAP CI bot connectors. Okay, to make a conversations with this chatbot. And once I'm able to do this, I'll planning to, my intention would be, deploy this Node.js application into some cloud service. So I am just using SAP Cloud Platform. So I'll be just, deploying this to all together in my SAP Cloud Platform. Okay, SAP Cloud Platform. So there I'll just deploy my Node.js. Then we have to create another chatbot over here. Okay, we'll be building a kind of an action project. Google Action project will do, and we'll create one kind of a chatbot using an action project. And it's free. You can, just like we did in SAP CI console with this chatbot. I'm calling it for the sake of understanding. Sorry, you can call it something like chatbot SAP CAI. So it will be easy to understand. So now this SAP CI chatbot, and basically the way we created using SAP CI console, similarly we'll be using a action Google Action project to create an conversational bot inside this Google developer console. Okay, and once we do that, we'll be again using a webhook. The way we used a webhook to integrate this Node.js application to get the data from RAP service model. Similarly, we'll be using another webhook, and that will integrate with all the way this Node.js application, because Node.js applications will be deploying to cloud. So once we do that, okay, this overall seamless integrations will be possible. So that means from Google Assistant all the way from RAP, I can get the data from this node, then this chatbot, and then SAP CI, this new node modules I'm going to create, right? And we have this Google Assistant action project. So this piece of things already we have done in our previous tutorial. And if you are accidentally coming to this video, I definitely will encourage to look at the previous discussions from episode 1 probably, so that you can just build your chatbot easily using these Node.js applications. And in this particular episode, our focus will be two things: how to integrate with Google Translations API so that we can make our SAP CAI chatbot as internationalized, and also how to create a bot connectors to make a conversations or maybe handling the conversations with this SAP chatbot, okay, all the way from Google Assistant. So stay tuned till the end, and let's see what's there technically, that what you have to do to achieve this. So let's see what exactly we have to do now. I have created one folder, and let's create inside this Google Assistant one more folder called app folder. Okay, and let's get into that. Now npm init -y. So it will create my package.json inside that. Perfect. And let's create one file, and that is, let's say, index.js, and we'll be using Express to make our all API calls. Now let's paste certain code, and here you can see I'm using the Express, and I'm using this translation API for the translation purpose. And also I have used SAP CAI for my bot connections. Now let's do something about my normal get call. So app.get method. And here just I am saying like enter your query in any language, so that I'll just put my certain text over here so that with that I can communicate with my SAP chatbot. So let's first install the dependent libraries like Express, this Google Translate API, and SAP CAI. So for that, what I want to do, npm, what's going on? install Express. Let's get the Express downloaded. Cool. So now Express is downloaded and node modules got created. Now what I want to do is kind of install. So npm install, and then let's install SAP CAI and let it get download and install. Cool. So now my SAP CAI is installed, and I can see in package.json we have this one installed. So what next we have to do? We have to install this one, copy this out and put npm install this, and let's download this one also. Looks like this is also 3 downloaded, and we are good with this dependent things. So we need some listeners now. So let's paste this one. So but just listening on the port 3000, or maybe whichever the environmental port offers. Let's save this out. What will happen? We can test it, but nothing will work because we have just done the get one, and we have to do the post calls now. So that means app.post, and let's write something called SAP CI like this, because SAP CI is our action route we have determined. And let's say put request and response, and we have to write all our intelligent code inside this app post. So it will do 2 things. One, as I told, the translations, and second thing is basically the bot connections. So let's search something in Google with this one, and just check the first link. So this is the npm package manager, which actually does all kind of a Google translation for free. And the features like is automatically detect the source language, like whether you are speaking in Bengali or in Hindi or maybe other Telugu, whichever language you prefer. The API will be smart enough to identify the language, source language first, and it does certain spelling corrections, certain language corrections also, and it's fast and reliable. And installation part you can do this way. I just installed this one, and what it can do in to access the code, you can use this kind of thing. So translations, basically translations is nothing but you have to access, because you have seen this code. So translate basically a require of this function, which is create an instance of this API, and you can use that translate to make a conversation from, let's say, from English to French, something like that. So if I just copy this out, for example, and we have a concept called try on run kit, it will open a kind of a test option, so that you can test your application. So let's paste this code. Instead of Google Translate, I'll just change it to translate, and it will basically convert from English to French, right? So if I just run over here, voila, you see the things automatically get converted into a French language. So you can change anything, let's say from, let's say, English to maybe Bengali. I'm a Bengali guy, I prefer to know what is that in Bengali. So if I just run, and yeah, dhanyavad. So this is the kind of a Bengali things that I'm able to get using this free API. Fantastic. Now we can search another package called SAP CAI. The first one you can just check, and you will see same installation process, manage your conversations, receive and send message, etc. So if you go to receive and send message, you see like you need some sort of uh, you know a client and the token, your bot token you need. But I'll be using something called build over here. Just a moment. Let me see that one, what I'm planning to use. So let's go to manage your conversation. Yes, so we are going to use this model. It's saying like, just a moment, it's saying like manage your conversations. So you can use SAP Conversational AI, and for API bring to your bot live, you can using that SDKs, right? Build tab SDK to make a conversations with. We need a token. I'll just explain how to get this token. But anyway, we have to do something kind of SAP CAI dot build, and then you have to put your bot token. Okay. Now, what interesting thing, once you get this in an instance, you have to use this dialog method. You have to pass the text that you want to pass it to your bot. And very important thing is the conversation ID. So, I mean, you have to open a new conversations ID, and how long you are passing the same conversation ID means you are basically communicating on a particular session. And the bot is going to give it kind of a promise and resolve kind of concept. So with this then asynchronous calls of JavaScripts, and with that it will give the message back. Okay, so that's probably that it's doing. And you have an option to pass certain other parameters, like if you want to handle certain thing with the memory parameters, etc. Memory management, you can do also those things. Some sort of conversation log you can also check. You can do some update conversations, delete conversations. A lot of things are there, but we'll be making our journey not much of that hectic. Very simple. We'll be using the first one, will be using this one, and second will be using a dialog. So basically we'll be using translations API as well this bot dialog. This SDKs to make our journey successful. So now I have just used this one, build, as I explained. And next is, of course, I have to use this one. I'm copying it, pasting it over here. Cool. So now I have my build and dialog. Just do a little bit of formatting. Yes. So we have to find our conversations ID. How to get, we'll see, and we have to put our token values. Also, we'll see how to do that. Okay, so but interestingly, before we get the bot SAP CAI build, we first need to check the translations, because the first starting point would be whatever the informations I get to this post call, API application post call. With this request, I have to get the information, like what the text that user has entered, and then we have to make a translations to the specifically to English, and then the this bot things will be coming up. So let's head over to the translation things first, and then we'll see what's happening. So to start with, let's do this thing. So translate certain message I have to pass, and this object, just an object, I'll say like, hey, convert it to English. From language I don't need, because as I told, like the API is smart enough that it can detect the language automatically. The source language it can detect automatically, and I don't need to pass it specifically. Now what we have to do, dot then, and we have to do request response. That's it. So I'll get a response over here, and this would be obviously translated into English. Okay, and after we get the response, what we have to do, we have to collect the translated text. That means from the response, we'll also detect the language, because this language information we need to respond it back, because I need to know with which language user entered the text, because I have to respond back in the same language. So that's the reason I'm just selecting a detecting language. I didn't declare it as a variable. Let's declare it first. Okay, so I have just declared detect language, translated text, and the CI response. Cool. And now what we have to do, we got the translated text. Once we get the translated text, now we have to call the bot. So that means let's just cut this out and put it over here, and this one all the way from here to here we can cut, and we can put it back inside this, then response. Correct. So we got this bot, that's dialog method we are calling. You have to pass whatever this text we received, so we can copy and put it as your text, should be this one. Conversation ID will see. This conversation ID is nothing but the chatbot session ID that we'll see. And once we get the bot response, right here we'll get the bot response. What you need to do, we need to again translate it back. So that means we have to again retransport to it, and that time we are basically get the CI response. CI response means bot response, which is nothing but response.message. So let's figure it out what our CI response should be. So what we need to do, I'm just pasting this out. Let's format quickly. Okay, we are saying like this response message content title, if it is available, because when I'm receiving a message, something like, do you want to track the travel ID 20? Let's say this is the response I'm receiving from my bot. So that response will come basically under this title property or attribute. Okay. And obviously in that time, if it is available, means if it is not undefined, then my CI response will be that one, of course. Otherwise, the actual content, like that all my travel details, will basically come under only in this content segment or content attribute, and that time CI response will be obviously from the content. So now we got the CI response. And to basically which language you need to move into, detect language, because detect language we already identified before. You just go over here, detect language already we identified. Okay, so detect language we now need to pass to our translation API. And finally, this is the response we're getting back. And for the SAP CI response, okay, whatever the bot I have to pass the response, it has to come under this fulfillment text, okay, from my Google. Okay, because this overall response will be reaching back to our Google API, Google Translation, Google Assistant, and it basically understand with this fulfillment text as a property from a JSON object. So we have to pass this one, then only my Google Assistant will understand the response. Okay. Now, obviously, a question would be where this response comes from, because we have only a race as the response. This response is basically you have to take out from my fast response over here. So that means response is equal to race. So because so that we can pass all the way the information back to, it's basically the reference of the original response that we received from the post call, which is nothing but came all the way from our Google Assistant. So that's why we're taking a reference of this information at the variable reference under response as a dedicated variable. And this response will be using inside this code under then and passing that send operation. That's it, simple. Okay, what we have to do more, we have to do this conversation ID. Okay, so for that, what we have to do is now, so now we have our sessions ID that I'm just creating session ID, any number I can give as a identifier. But while it is coming all the way from my Google Assistant, at that time this body will contain a session, specifically an attribute, and that will contain the actual session ID. But while I'll test it from our local mesh, local host and port, that time Unfortunately, this body will not contain any session, so that's the reason I'm just giving a dummy number. You can put any dummy number over here, XYZ, that's okay, but make sure like the same session ID you are using it to make a conversation. And once the conversation is over, ideally you need to regenerate this session ID each time. Okay, so that that session doesn't get spoiled or whatever. I mean, doesn't get expired. So now let's get onto the bot, and to get the token, what you have to do, you have to click on the settings, and you'll find something called tokens over here. Click on that. I have already generated the tokens, so you can see the developer token somewhere here, and that I'll be using in our bot. Okay, and the next thing of course comes the session ID, which already we discussed. And the problem would be whatever we have done so far, a lot of things we have done, installations, everything we created successfully, but unfortunately this application will not work. Okay, so let's test this out and see what's wrong, why it will not work. Okay, okay, so for that, what I have to do, I just need to do NPI. Okay, certain things I have to do a little bit on the package.json. So let's do something like start and nodemon index.js. Okay, and then here from I can just run npm start. So nodemon will be triggered, and this server is running in port 3000. Perfect. So let's run localhost 3000. Cool, I can see the data. Now let's run get travel details for 20. If I click on that, what will happen? Let's see what's going on. Voila, it's failed. So it's saying like something happened, connection refused. Okay, so it will not work, and the problem is let's see what the problem. So for that, if we go to our npm package manager and try out once more with this library that we downloaded, and that is this Google Translate. Okay, actually Google Translate is basically failing the moment I am using SAP CAI. Okay, but that possibly my choice of this POC buildup, because I wanted to have both CAI as well my Google Translator, and it's failing at this line, and it is telling like it's rejected this connection. Okay, this TLS connection, TCP connection got rejected, and we cannot make it work successfully. Okay, let's head over back to our code and npm package manager, search it again, and we have to go to the versions. If you go to version, you will see like the current version is basically this one. Okay, and which been updated just 8 months ago. And if we also see something around the other package, which is CAI, and if we go back and go to the CAI npm, if I just search, if we go to versions, you will see it is basically stable for the past 2 years. So some problem happened with this latest post, and that's why both CAI and Google Translates are not working successfully. So what my choice would be, let's, instead of 1.1.1, let's download this version. Okay, so for that, what we need to do, we have to do a little bit small thing only, and let's go to package.json. Instead of this 1.1.1, we have to remove. You definitely know this concept, right? So this is the simple patch update, certain features update, and there's a major update. Okay, and caret sign means any future update which comes afterwards, it will be automatically updated if we run npm update command. So I need to remove this one, and I need to make sure I just dedicatedly install this particular version only. Cool. Saving it, what I have to do, very simple. I'll just delete this node modules because I need to reinstall everything. I'm deleting it. Okay, everything deleted, and let it get deleted. Fine, nothing is there, and we can just stop this processing. Let's clean this out, and now run npm install. That's it, and run it. So what will happen, it will update my Google Translate only for this version. Express and SAP CAI all are stable, so I don't need to be bothered much. I just need to install whatever will be working version. I'm just pausing this video because it will take a little time to complete. So look like this installation is done, and here you can see I have done one mistake. It is something like request and response. No, it should be basically a response only. And then I think everything looks okay. So let's save it and then run this application npm start. So what will happen, in the package.json there is something called a start script. So it will run this index.js file in nodemon command. So run this out. So obviously nodemon, okay, sorry, my bad, I have to take it to the app folder and then npm start. And so now this nodemon started. Cool. So let's check that application. Just restart once. Yes, get the travel details for a spelling error. That's okay because it can correct the spelling it demanded. So let's test this also. Let's just fix 60. Okay, that's the get travel details for travel ID 60. So if I just call it, let's see what happens. And of course, yeah, voila, now it is working. So that's particular version was the trick for this successful POC. You just ensure you just download that particular version. Cool. So now 60, yes, I want to. So let's go back and just run and say like yes. So now for the travel ID 60, I'm gonna fetch all the informations. Awesome. So you see all the details. I got it. So I just want to test a little bit with the translations also. So let's go to translation. And if I just convert this one with some language, because I'm Bengali, I'm preferring to go for a Bengali text. So I'm copying it, and let's head over back to my screen, and then pasting this one for the 100 as a travel ID, and click on this fetch details. So obviously I would expect the response in Bengali. Perfect. Yeah, it is the right sentence that I'm getting it. And if I just click on yes, or no, not yes, this time I have to go back and put yes, and so that I can copy this one, means hey, yes, I want to do it, paste it back, and then I will get the response again in Bengali. Okay, cool. It's all details coming up in Bengali. Perfect. So that was the first thing, that Node.js applications, and now we have to deploy it to cloud. And in the next episode, I'm planning to create this action project, and we'll just integrate this Node.js, and all the way we will be able to access this chatbot from our Google Assistant. So stay tuned and remain connected, and don't forget to subscribe my channel and hit the like button if you enjoyed this discussion, and share at max possible to all your networks so that others can also follow this channel and they can also enjoy this discussion, technical skill sets. Thanks for watching.